What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and we are getting ready for Thanksgiving. It is the end of the year. We have one more conference between us and the end of the year. I was just talking to my guests about that today. Usually I give a whole bunch of announcements and everything else. I think this will air the week of MJ Biz. It all depends on how good I become at editing, but this will be out there. I hope you enjoy the episode, folks. My guest today, I don't know if she's going to like this intro or not, but my guest today is one of the most amazing people I've ever met. She is one of the kindest people in the industry. Funny enough, she has done so well in the industry that she has a group of haters out there. And I think that's ridiculous because this person has been kind to me. This person has been nice to me. This person has put me in opportunities that I never felt that I personally deserved, but she saw it in me. She's been incredibly supportive. And the craziest thing about her is she's the busiest person I know, but responds to my messages faster than anybody else that I know. So with that being said, please welcome one of my favorite people in the industry, Rosie Mattio. Rosie,
Oh
welcome.
my God, Todd. I've never cried in my life and I've had 4 children. I might cry from that intro. That was so nice. I feel so lucky. I always say the best thing about this industry are most of the people, the relationships, that I've made and built and people I get to call friends that I get to work with every day. That's why I love coming to work every day. I have friends here. It's great. So thanks
It,
for having me back again.
please, you can buy the show if you want. It's pretty much yours with all the people you put on it. Um, Rosie, I mean everything I say about that, and I maybe I say it too much, but like you're absolutely amazing. I see what you've done for me. I see what you've done for other people in the industry too. Like literally letting people crash in your hotel room, putting them on stage at events, before they believe they're ready, just putting people in the room. And what you've done is incredible. And the fact to me that there are people out there that talk shit about you, like they either don't know you or they hate themselves because if they've interacted with you, ever had a true interaction with you, not just seen like your work or your LinkedIn stuff, like I don't think anybody could ever feel that way about you.
I always say the most disheartening thing with this whole little situation I have with people coming after me is most of them, almost all of them, had never met me, never had a conversation with me, and make up stories about me. It was just a little disheartening because I do try to be nice to people. I like to kill people with kindness, but you know what I always say is what Susie says about Sally says more about Susie than it does about
Oh,
Sally. So you just got to keep on keeping on.
you know what it says to me? It says that you're so damn successful and so damn admired in this industry that people need to figure out a way to bring you down. Like that's what it is. The only reason you have haters is because you're so well known. So you're doing something right. If not, you're doing a lot of things right.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Now I'm
Absolutely.
now a little embarrassed. Let's get into some industry stuff. So thank you for having me back and
No,
for
it's
the
more
kind
it's
words. It
more
makes me
fun
happy.
to watch you turn red on camera. So let's go into everything else. Let's go into the 10 things I love about Rose. No. Speaking of some of your accomplishments, Rosie, though, like I love seeing the things that you're doing because one of the things to me and really where I see you being, a great thing for this industry is trying to break down the stigma or actively breaking down the stigma of the lazy stoner and integrating cannabis into normal life. I see it with you, with your kids, with your family, with your personal interactions. Obviously you post a lot on social media, so I can tell, but just integrating weed and being, I think there are a lot of people in cannabis, especially on the corporate side, and someone like you that works with a lot of public companies where they maybe don't share their own consumption that much. But, the things that you're doing are these mainstream collaborations. You are doing consumption based events and just you personally, like showing your cannabis use, your consumption. As someone who's at your level that's putting people on CNBC and everything else and really a go-to for mainstream media to ask about the industry, that's what I believe is a great value that you provide to the industry. And I love seeing that.
I mean, I really, and this comes down to and it's something we do in marketing, but it's all about authenticity, right? I want to live the lifestyle. I do live the lifestyle. I don't want to be ashamed of the lifestyle. I don't want other people to be ashamed of the lifestyle because there's nothing to be ashamed about. Some of the CEOs of these publicly traded companies, they are daily cannabis users and they're posting record numbers. So, to break the stigma of this idea of this like lazy stoner, I post about a lot. I wake up very early to work out in the morning, when I changed my bodybuilding competition, cannabis was an integral part of it. it should be normal. Like, let's just normalize it. Like, the only thing that happens is, when you share on social media, I get nervous that my account's going to be shut down. But aside from that, I feel pretty proud about it. And even like, and that's when I started thinking about it a little bit more. I am a mother of, now teenagers. So, that's the thing now, because my daughters follow me on social. They mostly only, they don't like my outfit. That's when they really comment. But like, it's interesting now. I got to be a little more careful because I do have followers who are under the age of legal consumption. So, who are my children. So a little bit about that. I might stop sharing a little bit just because it embarrasses them, not because of anything else. Like their friends, like, oh my God, mom, like you're so out there. So that's the only thing that I might temper it down a little bit. But in terms of like the business side of things, like I think part of it is seeing people who look like you, talk like you, do things as you, incorporating cannabis into your life. That's the only way we normalize it.
Dude, for me, it's crazy. It's seeing someone that I admire do it, because like right now, like your schedule to me gives me, oh, are we frozen here? What happened there?
I can hear you.
Cool,
You're not moving, but
cool.
I can
I
hear
can
you.
cut that
Yeah.
out. Actually, we'll leave it in because it's more fun. But yeah, your schedule gives me anxiety, seeing how busy you are, seeing how early you are, seeing how involved you are with your kids and your business and everything. And right there alone, like I do, not to go back to the whole, telling you how great you are, but I admire you, not just with the accomplishments that you've done, but how well you manage your time and everything else, and how you manage your schedule. I remember maybe like a year or two ago, I came up and saw you in New York and we had lunch together. And I remember at the end, we left, you had another meeting going, and I'm like, man, that was fun. All right, good hour. And I looked down and we had only spent a half hour together. I go, you're so efficient with your time that you made me feel like I got an hour of your time in a half hour. So
my husband calls me ruthlessly efficient. So, it's got puts and takes, but I will say like the one thing that I think that has set me up a little bit for success is I'm very good at time management. I really am. And I used to say, well, everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. And that's not true. There's a lot of privilege to that. I have a lot of time in my day because my husband stays home with the kids and all that stuff. But I'm energized by the next task at hand. The more I have on my plate, I feel like the more I accomplish. So, being a time manager, it's something, maybe it's something that I've taught myself to do, but, that's the secret to it. Like I'm able to just like bucket my time and focus, like be very focused for short buckets of time to get a lot done.
Oh, we're gonna have to figure out how to sell your system one of these days. But let's talk about some of the recent accomplishments you've had. One of the coolest ones, and this I remember this just being someone who goes to New York often, is the GTI collab with Magnolia Bakery. I think that's really awesome to have a very mainstream dessert company collab with a cannabis company. How did that come about?
I mean, I cannot take full credit for it.
That's
This is
true.
because GTI really creates like such amazing products. And I will say, like the Incredibles chocolate is absolutely delicious. Like that was like part of the things. Like it tastes really, really good. And they've done a really good job of having repeatable experiences with all their products. So I think when Magnolia was looking to gain relevance again, they've always been relevant. They're like an institution in New York, and they realized they were innovators. I feel like they were like the first. They were the first like cult snack. Right now you have like, the sprinkles and the Baked by Melissa and, all these like gelato shops, but, they were a pioneer. So I think when they were looking, they have to align themselves with companies that, really have high quality products. And Green Thumb just happens to be one of those. And when they do things right. So when that collaboration came to be and they brought us into loop on how are we going to launch this, like that is a dream come true for a publicist or marketer. Can you hear me, by the way, Todd? Because I'm talking. And I don't see you.
Just my camera is not working out, but I can.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, when the collaboration came to me and they came to us to put together the program of how are we going to, how are we going to make this happen? And that was a dream come true as somebody who, came from, I was a food publicist before I came to cannabis PR. So I used to spend all my time, the fancy food show and launching food brands and innovating with food brands. So when this came, my two fashions, food PR and cannabis PR came together to put together an influencer and media relations program. That is like a dream come true. We worked really closely with Magnolia team who were all in on this, like it's a big risk for them, right? Like this is a store, that's like I said, a New York institution. They've been around for over 20 years. Women, children, men, they're all wait online. They still wait online for the banana pudding. So they took a big risk, but I think it's because, the marketers at Green Thumb, Ellie Weiner, who runs the team over there, and the Magnolia team was a great collaboration. We worked actually, like, I think probably 9 months. You know, people think this stuff happens overnight. I mean, I think this collaboration was in the works for a while. They brought us in around 9 months ago to build out a program. And it was everything from, you know, how are we going to break the story? You know, what are our influencer kits going to look like? You know, what's our messaging going to be to make sure that everybody was comfortable and really push this narrative of like, this is normalization. So, and it ended up being a huge success. Everybody, you know, from CNN to what's it called? Epicurious, every food publication, mainstream publication is probably one of our most successful campaigns. And I think it's just a nod to like, you know, where things are going. You know, cannabis is CPG. So I hope they see more and more of that. But it was really one of the most, you know, fun projects we've ever worked on. And I sent a text, you know, to Ben, you know, and then Shan and the team over there saying, you know, thank you for letting us work on such cool stuff because, you know, it hasn't been that much fun in the cannabis the past year. You know, if anybody tells you that it's been easy, they're lying, right? It has not been fun. So we get these opportunities to work on what I call cool shit. You know, we jump at it, and it was fun to see all the success of it.
No, it's incredible. And like I said, Magnolia has been a New York staple. I remember having to get it for my mother-in-law when she was up there. She was unfortunately having a surgery. We're done with our technical difficulties. Thanks for hanging in there with me, Rosie. But so that's the whole GTI Magnolia Bakery thing. Like, I feel like that's got to be one of the coolest parts of your job is to just do these really cool projects that at some point in time will be part of history, right? Like a very mainstream New York staple collaborating with a cannabis company. And it's not even like they said like, oh, we'll do something special with you. We're going to take the thing that has our biggest reputation.
Exactly. That was the crazy part. When I saw that it was banana pudding and the red velvet cupcakes, I'm like, let's go. It was, I was really like one of the most fun things we've worked on in a very long time, you know? So I feel very grateful that we got to work on it. And it's actually so delicious. It is so good.
As a New Yorker, how do you feel about that?
As New Yorker, I mean, listen, as you know, the New York rollout has not been great here. So to see something positive come out of New York, all for it on the cannabis scene. So it's great. Like I said, like even when I did my LinkedIn post, like a born and bred New Yorker, when I was in high school, like that's what we would do when we were like on a Saturday night. We go wait online for Magnolia cupcakes, right? Like that was like a fun outing for us. So, and it wasn't just like, you know, some pastry companies, freaking Magnolia and institutions. So, you know, and hopefully these cannabis companies that are being born now, like we look back, you know, in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years from now, like these original innovators in cannabis, like those will be the Magnolia cupcakes of cannabis of our lifetime. So I think there's something poetic about that.
No, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see the Katz's Deli and the Juniors collaborations that you
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, I mean, a little keep cure, you know, on that corned beef, I'm in.
That sounds good. Now, keeping in the theme of GTI, the other thing that you did, and it happened a little while ago, but we haven't spoken, at least we're on a recorded camera line since then, was the what was the name of the festival? I got
the Miracle Concert in Munzaline. It was also it's all these things. It's so funny from the outside. People think these are like quick ideas, working on it for years, right? So really being like these forward-thinking companies you work with are incredible. But this was, it was the first cannabis festival. I mean, first like music festival, definitely at least east of the Mississippi that, you know, that had cannabis consumption. You could buy on site, you could consume on site. It was, you know, it was part of it. And I would say that they had amazing acts. They had J-Rad. People follow me know, I'm a big jam band fan. They're like a great Grateful Dead cover band. So that was great. We had Cypress Hill one day, Lettuce, like a wide array of Action Bronson. So wide array of music taste, because not every cannabis consumer is the same. And it's not like, oh, it's just jam band, you know, this traditional like stigmatized of like, oh, these stoner like deadheads. It wasn't like that. It's all walks of life, all age demographics, of course, you know, 21 plus. And I thought the funniest part was like, how's this going to play out? Like everybody smoking weed. Well, it was like, everybody was very happy. Like there was like no fights, like nothing like that. But the funniest part was at the end of the night. I go to a lot of concerts, and normally when you leave a concert in the night, like people are sort of pushing and like rowdy. Everybody was like stoned. They're walking out quietly, you know, like
the single file line.
In a single file line, complete silence, like no noise. It was hysterical. And the second night, I was waiting for some of my friends to arrive. I was bringing them in the VIP side, and I was talking to some of the police officers, you know, the security, because this was really done well. Actually, some of my haters around that time were saying, oh, this is going to be Fire Fest. Like, no, it was like, I worked the back, and, you know, because, you know, we helped the PR and all that stuff with it. And of course, like it's a first time and there are like tiny little glitches. Nobody would have known it. And if I hadn't known, I wouldn't have known. There was like nothing. It was so professionally done. It was like the model of what can be, right? Like, every concert you go to, somebody's like sneaking in like a joint in their girlfriend's bra. Like, no, this was even it's funny when I was going through security, normally like, oh my God, I hope they don't see what's in my bag. Here, like they were supposed to see what's in your bag. You were supposed to have weed.
I did
That was
conscious
amazing.
security in high school. That was my job. I worked for CSC event staff. Before the events, I was the guy. I let a lot of it through. They can't fire me for it. I remember.
Be cool, Todd. Be cool.
I was a high school football player who went and would do stuff at concerts anyway. So they would come in. I'd open the backpack. There'd be like a bag of weed in there. I'd look, and you'd see them sweating. I'd be like, all right, man, have fun. And they'd be like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm 16 years old. I'm getting paid like $6.50 an hour. I'm not confiscating your drugs and fighting with you.
But yeah, anyways, that was another thing. Like, again, this mainstreaming, like what could be, like what can it be, what will be. And this future thinking is so cool. But I was thinking about the cop thing, which was so interesting was, so I was waiting for my friends to come out. And I was, thanks guys for helping us, or like security. And if you know Illinois at all, there's something called the Ravinia Festival every summer. It's this like big lawn and music acts come and people picnic. And he's like, these weed dudes are better than these wine moms at these events. They're so loud. They're so rowdy. They're obnoxious, but everybody was so polite, so kind. There was no incidents. It was great. So it was so exciting to see something, like I said, people who thought, oh, this is going to be a disaster. It was like so well done. And it was like really another one of those experiences, like pinch me moments, like, that we got to do something very, very cool. So it was great.
I'm jealous because I know you are a big jam band festival. I feel like this was like right in your wheelhouse of things you want to do. The fact that anybody cheered against this is absolutely ridiculous. There are other words I want to say, but I'm trying not to get censored on YouTube here.
Well, you'll come next year. I think we're going to do another one. So you'll come as our guest.
I would love to come as your guest. Can we get Jelly Roll to perform? Is he too big yet?
You know what? Don't ask, don't get. Let's see what we can do.
You know what? I absolutely love. So if we want to bring this in the purview of the things that I love, I would love to see the same thing replicated with stand-up comedy, because I think cannabis and stand-up comedy go hand in hand. I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. And if Chicago is going to allow consumption at events, I think that's the place to go to do it.
And I don't want to keep talking about Green Thumb the entire time. We just have to be on it. They have this consumption lounge in Munzalai, and is the first one east of the Mississippi. They have comedy nights, and it's like great. Like, you get to go to a comedy club. They turn to a comedy club. People smoke and they laugh their asses off. Like, what's a better way to spend a night?
None. That's literally that. When the times when my wife and I get to go out of the house, and I'm in a different stage of parenting than you. I'm at 2 and 4, so I'm pretty much bunkered up here.
Locked. Yeah.
We go to the Palm Beach Improv or the Dania Improv, and she stands with me in the parking garage while I smoke a joint before we go in. So
I love it.
That's what we do, and I'd love to. But going back to the general theme of things, and like I said that you do so much to help mainstream cannabis. Like, this is mainstreaming it, right? It is not just a bunch of stoners that are going. There are people that are going to the band, and all of a sudden, what if somebody found it as a music festival and they are a cannabis consumer and they realize that they can purchase there? It's not like you're, like you said, not sneaking it in. This is what we're doing to work to mainstream cannabis, and the fact that people cheer against this in any kind of sense is ridiculous to me. It shouldn't matter who's heading it up. It shouldn't matter at all. It should be that someone is willing to take the step to be innovative, to show the world what cannabis can truly be. And you throw off a music festival that the Chicago police force is like, damn, I'd much rather work that than any other one that I'm doing.
Right. And also, and that's your point, like, it was such a good, like, it was not like, oh, let's just get some bands together so we can have a festival where people can smoke weed. If you like the band, it was just a great festival. It happens to be that you could smoke weed there. And like, that's the point of it. Like, it doesn't have to be like wrapped in cannabis. Like, it's everything should be the same. It's a world's class event, and you can smoke cannabis.
And I think that's the interesting thing. Like, I've always been curious about consumption lounges, and I know we have a mutual friend who's very big in that space, and a couple others. When it comes to the consumption lounges that have existed to this point, outside of maybe the OG Cannabis Cafe, they've always been kind of weird to me because they're so specifically cannabis. Now, I haven't been to the GTI one. I've only been to a couple of them in California. And they're all kind of dingy rooms with like a questionable glass with, decent music playing, but you're just hanging out with your friends in some room, smoking what you bought or what they had. And I remember thinking to myself, one of the last trips we had to California, I'm like, why don't we just go back to the hotel or the Airbnb? We can do the exact same thing and not like everybody else. So I'm very curious to see how it goes forward. Like, the festival that you created was a normal life event that happened to include cannabis. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of these consumption lounge models and everything else is it needs to have that restaurant or lounge type experience. It can't just be focused on stoners.
And I think you might have had Sarah on the podcast to talk about this. And I think that's
times,
like, yeah. And I think that's it. It's like it's a restaurant, but you can smoke weed, right? Like this, we have to normalize. Like these places in New York, I mean, they're not like, legal yet, whatever they are. They look like a dude's dorm room basement. Like, why would I want to smoke there? I might as well smoke on the street before I go into my nice restaurant. Like, it makes no sense to me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's true too. But the point is that that would be part of normalization. Like, on-prem alcohol consumption, right? That's like a huge part of the market, going to a restaurant and smoking, whatever, having a glass of wine. So like once like these beverages, we're seeing in we're starting to see it like even like in Connecticut. Like my friend Dave Briggs, he's head of sales for like a cannabis beverage company. They're starting to sell it. I mean, I think they're like whatever. They're maybe like, hemp drive to this point, but they're pretty close to the edge. Restaurants are starting to adopt it. Like non-alcoholic drinks are like in now. I was at a restaurant last night and I couldn't believe there were like 6 non-alcoholic beverages. People are, and you're seeing the data, college kids are drinking less. People are drinking less alcohol. So, I think especially listen, smoking in a restaurant, maybe not so much. You can't smoke anything inside anywhere. And like, I don't know, like as somebody who really likes food, the smell of the cannabis, it would take away from, the perfume of my foods. That wouldn't be for me. But, having a quick acting beverage, amazing. Why not? And being able to, not be hammered at the end of dinner and keep your wits about you. It's great.
It's 100% true. And it's funny that you say that, smoking in the restaurant and everything, because I am like a dedicated joint smoker. That's what I smoke. It's my thing. But I also do treat it like a cigarette in the sense, like if there are people around me, I try to like go around the corner. Like I
like that's not going to happen. You're not smoking a joint in a restaurant. It ain't happening.
Never. And nor do I want to, but I'm okay. Like if they're like, hey, you can go outside and smoke, as long as people allow me to smoke where people smoke cigarettes. Like I'll be honest, I'm going to Disney with the family Sunday through Tuesday. I never expect to be able to walk through the parks of Disney smoking a joint. That's ridiculous. But let me go to the smoker section and smoke one. I'm cool with that. That's what I want to start seeing.
Agreed.
Yankee Stadium. Let me go over to the spirally thing that everybody walks up with fights on and let me smoke there.
Exactly.
I'm actually really excited about the future of New York cannabis. I feel like, and it's amazing that you're there, because I feel like New York will be the epicenter of the cannabis and the cannabis industry at some time. It's just too many people touch foot in New York at some point throughout their careers or their personal lives. It is like the number one place that people from other countries want to come see. And, everybody in any sort of business at some point in time, you come through New York. I truly believe as New York starts to close down those gray market or illegal dispensaries or whatever you want to call them and starts to increase their actual program, that the center of the cannabis universe is going to be in New York. Like the best product might still come from California, but they're going to be talking about it in New York. And that's what the trends, I believe, are going to be set.
I'm with you. Like I was, when they announced the New York program, I was so excited about it. And I still am, because to your point, New York is, the cultural capital, financial capital, of the world, fashion capital of the world. Broadway shows, arts, all this is New York City, right? So what New York City cannabis can be is amazing. And cannabis is, New York cannabis has like a very long history. There's some people who know their weed, right? So like there's going to be weed for the connoisseurs here. There's going to be an amazing program. But to your point, they need to just close down the the non-compliant shops, open up more more of the legal shops. I want all these card licenses, to be able to get their stores open. I want everybody able to get their stores open so that we can have a thriving market. And I can't wait to see the concepts that are going to come out of this. Like, turn it on.
Speaking of concepts, I think there's one. I don't know if you've been there yet. I don't think they're your client, but I went down there. It's probably one of the most beautiful dispensaries I've ever seen. Have you been down to Gotham yet?
Oh, it's so nice. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
I know you have a bunch of your friends and clients in there, like the Edie Parker stuff in there. It's so beautiful. It's like Eric's Higher Standard.
That's what. This is a New York City dispensary should look like. It's great. It's unbelievable, and more will pop up. We know some of our clients what they're planning on doing, or people who are applying for licenses, and we're friends with a lot of the card holders who want to read. And I love like the program for the Justice Involved, or people who have former convictions. Like there should definitely be a place for them too. Like unfortunately, the OCM sort of broke with the MRTA, but the law was, but prioritizing people over others. Once those be that way, I won't get so far into that, but we're representing a lot of the car license holders. They have amazing stories. They could be what the American dream is in New York, right? American dream started in New York. People came across Ellis Island, better their lives, from their parents and grandparents. That's what's happening here. Some of these people, grew up in, very disproportionately, impacted by the war on drugs. So let them open their stores, let them build generational wealth, and they have amazing concepts. So we just need to iron this out, and hopefully, it's going to take a while. Like we see what LA is, or California is still, reeling from all the gray market stores and, the taxes and all that stuff. And we have to hope that New York can dig their way out of, this mess that we're in. But eventually New York is going to be the cannabis capital. I think not one of the cannabis capitals of the world.
100%.
Can't discount California ever because of the quality of product, but New York is going to be, like I said, in terms of concepts and what's available and what the standards will be, I think will be very high.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. I think the best product will still continue, but obviously this gets to a point where we get interstate commerce and everything else. So if in the perfect world, a lot of the best product will still come from California, but it will sell more in New York. That's just it. Right now, when we were building Heisman, I always looked at Vegas, particularly Planet 13, as a billboard for us. I never care. I don't want to say I didn't care about sales in that store, because I care about sales everywhere. But to me, it was people coming to Vegas, going to Planet 13 because they wanted to smoke weed for the first time, seeing our brand, and then seeing it back wherever they live. That was how I looked at it. New York is the epitome of that now, because more people will touch down, more different types of people will touch down in New York than they will in Las Vegas. Nothing against Planet 13, but Manhattan is Manhattan for a reason, and it's the center of the world for many other reasons. On that note, it's crazy to me with you being the PR and IR arm for so many of the largest companies in the industry. I feel like you find yourself right in the middle of advocacy and policy and everything else more often probably than you care to be. But, I saw you posting about the David, and I'm going to butcher his last name, David Boyce lawsuit.
Got it right. David Boyce. You got it right.
Where did he go? It's reading a lot of really hard last names over the last 4 years. Isn't that right, Rosie Mattio? So I tell me about the lawsuit, because I started reading about it, and the gentleman, David Boyce, who's done this, he's taken on a lot of, very large litigation or lawsuits but basically a lot of history-changing things throughout his career. And now he's taking on cannabis and looking at it. The whole industry has been behind safe banking and safer banking for the longest time. Now with my job at Green Check, learning about things like safe banking really at this point is just a stamp on the keep doing what you're doing, everybody. Now, there are some advantages to it, like the potential of uplisting and things like that, being able to take institutional funds. But from a banking standpoint, it really just blesses what's going on a lot. It looks to me as if this lawsuit, if successful, really starts normalizing the cannabis industry and starts attacking some of the things that really affect us, such as 280 and taxes. Can you tell us a little bit about the lawsuit for those of us who only read like 3/4 of the article?
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a lot to it. So I'll just keep it very high level. And yes, right. David Boyce, they had a Boyce, Schiller, Flexner. They have, they did the Microsoft antitrust case, against the US government. They won. So they have a long track history in Washington on taking on the federal government. And basically the crux of it is that it's a class of government overreach, right? If it's legal in the States, intrastate commerce, right? You should be able to, act as a fully compliant business given the precedent. And with some of these laws that prevented it, were born before we had this robust legal compliant, programs. Like cannabis doesn't go across state lines, right? So it's let the states do what they want, and some of this federal overreach shouldn't count if it's legal in the state. So that's a high level of what it is. And yeah, and we're not saying that this is none of these initiatives, even descheduling or rescheduling and safe and all these have to work in parallel paths. There is no one easy fix, but we need to be pushing the federal government to reassess how they look about cannabis, treat us like every other business that's allowed, and we feel like it's the right firm, and that kudos to Boyce Schiller, because they're working with some of the operators. They're working with small operators. It was brought in Massachusetts, and And there's like there's so many ways that small businesses, as we know, like they're doing this, even they have less access to capital, right? So, they're really doing things with the hands tied behind their back. So this is going to be a case that's going to benefit cannabis companies, both large and small, and like I said, the main crux is this government overreach.
No, 100%. And it is 100% right, because a lot of companies, we assume that things were going to change by now. And the access to capital it's unfortunately just not there. Like, there are only so many private investors in the world. There are so many private investors in the country. There are only so many of them that are interested in cannabis, and a lot of them have been tapped. And it is nuts. Like, you have these companies that are thriving, that are successful, that are doing things the right way, no matter what size they are. And they're just struggling to survive because they can't raise capital. And the reason that they have to continue to raise capital the way they are, because they don't have access to traditional financial institutions. You can't get SBA loans. You can't get regular loans. It absolutely needs to be done. I love the fact that you've kind of been pulled into it, because I love the fact that you're representing us when you're getting the stories out there, right? I'm like, forget it what anybody else thinks. I think you're a great bastion of this industry, and I love seeing you at the forefront of it. And, I'm excited. Do you think, like, and maybe this is me looking at you, but I think it's really cool, because I think a lot of folks that are coming in to learn the industry and kind of understand the landscape of it, they look at you as a person that they want to speak to. Let's use Alexa from Twitter as an example. Like, you guys, she came to you right away, and she seems to be all over the place now. Like, to me,
yeah,
linking up with you is almost like a fast track to understanding the industry.
Well, it's not me that, and I'll say, and similar, to the Twitter or X, and to this case, like,
it's X. Sorry, I still call it Twitter.
It's so do I, by the way. I don't even know how to type it into my, like, on my phone. I can pull up my X app. I still put Twitter into my browser. I don't even know what the URL is. But I will say, like, so when Alexa, we met her early on, and, we helping them, figure out what their policy was, what the pain points were for the industry. And, X was on a budget. We did it. We worked, in the background and got a lot of that word out. Like, we didn't take a penny from Twitter. Like, we feel like, we work on retainer, we need to have our revenue, but we've been at this so long, and for this industry to survive, like, we need to pitch in where we can. This whole, we worked for months on this case. We did this pro bono, right? So we feel like there's ways that we can help elevate the industry, and we're happy to be, in the intersection of it, because, if this industry doesn't survive, nobody's paying my retainers, right? So we're very happy to help this industry, move forward and chip in when we can. Like, there's ways you can chip in money, and there's also ways you can chip in with skill sets. So we feel very grateful. Like, even when we were on these calls, with the Boy Schiller and the steering committee of this, which was a lot of the multi-state operators and these small operators. And, it felt really good that they felt that they could, Boy Schiller, like, they are big time. They're the big leagues, right? So the fact that they entrusted us to do the rollout of this, it was a big sense of pride. And, I sat on the calls with these guys, but our team, like, I have never been more proud. Like, this was like a business. We could not mess this up. Like, this was our reputation aligned. This is, like, huge to the industry. If we had botched this announcement, we would have been, like, done. I've never felt more pressure in my life. I remember that day when we were waiting for the Wall Street Journal exclusive to hit. I feel like my body was on fire, because, like, I take this so personally, because I always said this early in our conversation, my clients have become like my friends, right? And I just did not want to disappoint them. So the fact that it went out without a hitch, and that we got our story placed, and, our exclusive, and then it went wide, it was a great moment for us. And hopefully this is the beginning of, big change for the industry. And we feel very grateful that we're able to be a part of it. We really did.
That's incredible. And shout out to your team for doing it. You've built an amazing team at Mattio. I think people need to understand how involved you really are in the business, like, day to day. And again, just follow Rosie on social media. Like I said, her schedule gives me anxiety. I'm not even the one who's living it. So, seeing how involved you are with a lot of your clients and with every project, and, you go to every event personally. And, the crazy thing to me is, like, you're not, there are a lot of people in this industry, and I won't mention any names, that, like, they get special treatment at conferences. They have, like, green rooms for their speaking engagements. They're not out with the common folk and everybody else. You're all over the place. And I give you extreme credit to that. And that's why, like, I look at you and I admire you, because you are authentic. You are living it, and you're doing everything. You're not pawning it off. It wasn't given to you. It was earned. And, like, that's what impresses me the most. And I think other people need to understand that.
Yeah, I always say, like, I would do what I do for free, but I don't. I freaking love it. And I said, I'll go back to it. It's because of the people. Like, when I go to the conferences and people think, I don't STFU. I'm a big talker, but like I'm actually like what they call an introvert extrovert. These events are a lot for me. At the end of the day, I'm like I can't breathe because I know a lot of people have been at this a long time, but I get energized by it at the next task of hand once I'm actually there, because it's opportunity to chat with people that I love. And that's how I psych myself into it, because when I go to these events, sometimes it's surprised I actually want to hide. I'm like, oh my God, like I got to talk to so many people. It's like stressful, but I show up because half the battle is just showing up. Just show up for your people, show up for your clients, show up for the conference organizers, like show up for Todd, get on the podcast, right? Because if we don't support each other, we're still such early innings. Like you just need to show up. Like that's half the battle. Show up, show up. That's it. That's my message in this conversation.
So we've talked about a lot of the accomplishments, and we'll call them the accomplishments of Mattio Communications, because you have an amazing team behind you. Focusing back on the entrepreneurship side of the conversation, Rosie, as you've grown in this industry and you get the biggest clients in the industry and you continue to scale, how are you doing such a great job building this amazing team that you have? And I can say that because I interact with many of them. They're very responsive. They're very great at getting the guests that they understand that I like. It seems like they know me, almost an extension of my show, and I have no one helping me. I texted you the other day, your former executive assistant, Tori. She's absolutely amazing. And I can say that
star.
She figured out how to work with me by the way that I work, right? Like she understands my response time. She understands that sometimes I miss some things, and like she stays on top of me, but not in a way that feels like it's annoying. Like she stays on top of me in a way that I feel like I'm working with somebody who I really enjoy working with. And, she's not the only one. She's just the one I've called out by name recently. But how do you continue to build such a great team that every single person I talk to that works with you, they love it. They don't want to leave. Like, I feel like you get to a point where some people, maybe they've reached as high as they can because you have some great executives in place. And it's like, you got to move on to something else. And it's almost like they don't want to because they are so happy working at your company.
I mean, I'm lucky the fact that we work in cannabis. So it's like, where else, where are you going to work? Want to work for somebody, that's pitching, orange juice? But no, I will say though, it really comes down to the team. I just think the culture here. And I think it's because I'm a CEO by accident. I always said this in our original podcast. I did not set out to build an agency. I never thought in my wildest dreams, but I have, offices, 50 people working for me, HR, what? I was really a solo practitioner. So I don't think of myself I feel like it's a very lateral organization. Like you said, I like doing the work. I love it. So I'll pitch still because it's fun for me. So I think that they see that I'm willing to get, my nails dirty, and I'm willing to dig in. I think that's part of it. And we just try to have fun here. And it's just the team. We have my second in command, Patrick, he's the lead account manager. They get how I work. So they're able to sort of translate it to the team. We just try to have fun here, and my office, I was I don't even know why I have a door. Nobody respects it, which is, I think is the funniest part. I've got a door closed, nobody walks in, so they usually walk in and I've got scrambled eggs falling out of my mouth. It's just we try to keep it very lateral here. I think that's part of it. And I also just try to give them autonomy, which is funny because I am a control freak and a micromanager at home. So, but here, I try to just let the team do it because in the beginning it was very hard for me to release control. But then when I realized my team is so good, they're actually better at this than I am. I actually don't do much during the day. I just sort of hang out here and talk to them and, talk to you. So that's really comes down to, we just have we have a good time here today. And I try to keep it lateral, and it's even to detriment because people want titles. I'm why do you need a title? Take CEO. I don't care, but so that's actually part of me growing up as a CEO. People do want professional development. And so we have a real HR team now, a real people manager. And I said to her yesterday, budgets are tight. We're planning our holiday party. And so she's working on it. And I'm just sort of I'm let's just get it done type of person, or I could be a little more how's this going to how is this going to fall with the team? I'm just a very transparent person. So I sort of say what's on my mind. And I texted her yesterday. I said, I really appreciate you, looking out for the budget for, for the holiday party this year. It's not going to be as big as last year. But I also appreciate that, you're taking care of the team because I'm just sort of get it done. And, just more cerebral of a person. And so it's good to have somebody who can be more of the motherly type in the organization. So man, hiring the right people who can yin to my yang has been good.
That's awesome. I think a Mattio holiday party must be a very fun party.
Karaoke this year, baby. Come on up.
I might have to. I get jealous. I see the events that you guys do, and I'm like, wait, why? Oh, that's right. I don't actually work for them. I deal with a lot of
You're
other
welcome
people.
anytime. You're part of the family and you know it,
I almost hit you up last January. I'm like, hey, Rosie, I didn't get my W-2. Oh, that's right. I don't work for you. No, but what you've done has been amazing. I continue to be in awe of it, and like I said, I think you're amazing. I think the love that you put back in the industry is great. You're very involved. You have a lot of massive clients. With the holidays coming up, let's get a little bit more fun here. What are some of your favorite products you've been seeing in the industry? What are we buying our friends for Hanukkah and Christmas this year?
I mean, as I always go back to just also because she's my friend and it's my aesthetic. I'm so lucky with our relationship with Edie Parker. She is so generous with us. Last year I was able to send everybody like those tabletop lighters. And I was like, who's not going to love that? So that's always great. I love that. What's it called? I'm hoping that, in the compliance states, I think actually, those, the Magnolia bars, everybody sort of seems to want them and they're limited quantity. So I got to see how I gotta make that happen. But yeah, like I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to choose a favorite child because I love everybody. Honestly, I really do. But also it's like, I love that we get invited to do like some cool stuff with our clients. Like I know last year we did some tailgating stuff around the holidays, like around, last year, Thanksgiving weekend, what Tara said, their location is right by Giant Stadium, MetLife Stadium. So we did a tailgate on Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, so that was really cool. And it's so funny, like, I'm very good friends with Jason, like he's so the salt of the earth. So they're like, Rosie, let's like plan a tailgate. I'm like, all right, let's get the food trucks. It's that. He's like, let's go to Costco and get pinwheels. I'm like, I'm going with the chairman of this company to Costco to get pinwheels. Like, let's do it. I just love like how humble some of our clients are. We just have a good time doing it. Yeah, I mean, like, the problem is one day when we win this lawsuit, we'll be able to gift all of our clients across state lines. The issue is I also have to gift state by state. Actually, this year, we're sending for our holiday gifts. We work with Harris Supply, which is Hember, and they graciously allowed us to gift all of our clients their boxes. So I'm really excited about that because A, it saves me some money, and B, like they do such creative, cool stuff there. So I'm excited. Like I know our clients, actually a lot of them are consumers, are going to wake up, they're going to open up these boxes and find these amazing accessories. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. That was a long-winded answer.
The tabletop lighter, I don't even know if you can see it. You can't see it because of the shine, but this is the one that was in Gotham. It is
so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. I mean, it's worth that $400 price point because I've gifted it a few times. Everybody was like, oh my God, they're so great. And it's also like, even, like, just like, that's also like the normalization, like being able to like, I go to like concerts, like my barrette is like a little joint that she makes. It's like so cute. I get stopped a million times about it. So like this whole normalization, like I love seeing it happen.
Oh, I'm starting to get into it too. Eric Hammond is the one who introduced me to stuff that like I have this now. It's an ST2
What's that?
So it's an ST2 Bont cigarette case, but I use it for joints. There's nothing in here.
Ooh, that's cool.
So I've started carrying any conference you see me at. I will have this loaded with joints mostly. I think I gave one of these to you, these lighter cases.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I the pink Louis Vuitton one you gave me. I still have it. I get so many compliments on that one. Thank you.
It's not a real Louis Vuitton. Don't tell me.
You know what? I'm sorry.
No,
sorry.
It looks like it though.
It looks like it. It's still not.
It's Canal Street Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, fine.
So
Louis Vuitton inspired. That's what we say, inspired.
But these things, like these access, like to me, you're right. These are the things that make it normal and make it cool, and people like accessorizing their hobby and everything else. I think I talked to Ben from LeafLink earlier today, just about like what was it? I forgot where I was going with this. This is terrible. The normalization.
We've been talking for a while. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Happens.
Wow, I really just had a brain for it. That's okay. But the accessories and everything else, everybody being excited about, we were talking about like the wine industry, right? And like you go into someone's house and they might have a beautiful wine rack and like, like they have those openers where it opens the cork with the big and everything else. And they have wine cellars and everything else. And that's not only is that socially accepted, but like if you go to a beautiful house that's been built on spec, chances are it's got like a wine cellar or a wine fridge or anything else. And I really like seeing the move away from just true like heady stoner accessories to these like high-end stuff, sterling silver and different materials and marble. Edie Parker does a great job with it. Houseplant did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Others I saw in Gotham. So I think this and the stuff that you do, like I remember the purse that you wear with the lighter on it, like
that burn bag. Normalizing it. So good.
Very cool. Well, we are getting towards the top of the hour here. I am almost certain you probably have a 4 o'clock call. So I'm going to let you go, Rosie. But before I let you go, what can we leave everybody with? What are you excited about for next year?
What was I about next year? I'm excited, that we're all living to see another day, honestly. Like it's been a tough road for everybody. And, there's like so much on the horizon in terms of what's going on in Washington. So I'm really hopeful that we're going to get some of this legislation passed. If this descheduling happens, and people, stop paying the 280 taxes and we get this healthy industry. And like, my hope is that, people just hang in there. Like, that's my message. Like all I tell the team is that, and we're actually having a pretty good year considering everything that's going on, we're used to, doubling. The fact that, we're still growing is great. But, my message to everybody is just like, one day we're going to look back and we're going to say like, we hung in there, tough times don't last, tough people do. So like my message to everybody, like go into 2024 with like a sense of abundance, not scarcity. I think, a lot of the stuff with like the haters and stuff that came after me is that people live in this mode of scarcity, right? Like it sometimes brings out the worst in people. And I encourage people to help each other out during these times of adversity, right? Like support each other. Like we can't go on this alone. So, my hope is that, people are thinking about the positives and the impact that we can all have on this industry, and on this plan. So that's it. Just, keep on keeping on and keep your head up.
Hey, amen. I think we're deep enough into this video. They don't have to worry about YouTube caring about it. Listen, folks, we're all in this together. Just because you don't like someone's background or where they came from, if they are advocating for this industry, if they're pushing it forward and you're not supporting them, fuck you. That's what I have to say.
That's
okay?
Right. Well, Todd, thank you for having me. And I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks at MJ Biz.
Yes, I am excited. I'm looking forward to seeing you in MJ Biz. Rosie, thank you.
Let's find that smoking section together, right?
100%. Thank you very much.
And thank you to everybody at home for watching. Of course, if you missed any part of this interview, you can check it out at youtube.com/elevateyourgrind. If you don't want to watch the video, just want to listen to it, you can check it out on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you download your podcast, folks. Been another episode of Elevate Your Grind. We'll see you next time.